Hi Scorpio, this is your forecast for the month of September 2017. If you have visited me before, I'd like to thank you for returning, and if you are new to my channel, I'd like to welcome you. This is a general reading for Scorpio Sun, Scorpio Rising, or Scorpio Moon. It might also be helpful for you to watch your rising and moon sign. You can join me on Facebook and Instagram for daily insights on tarot and astrology, as well as my pay-per-view channel, vimeo.com/thealchemistastrologer, where you can find on-demand pages for love, finance, and other readings. So Scorpio, this first week you're facing perhaps a little bit of confusion. For some of you, maybe you're dealing with rain, or maybe you're feeling a little bit under the weather. Maybe you're just not yourself. There's some disorganization. Some of you, you're feeling overwhelmed by your emotions, and it's making it difficult for you to think clearly and really be rational about a situation. Perhaps you're facing some kind of difficult choice, and maybe you're not even on the mark about something. Maybe you're thinking about something and you're kind of muddled in your perceptions, and they may be wrong. You may not be accurately perceiving something. For others of you, there's some confusion. You're hoping for something. There's some wishful thinking, and you're dealing with some questionable circumstances. Could even be operating under some type of illusion. But this could be a week where, again, there's a lack of focus. You may be living in a fantasy world and perhaps even longing to escape. And for some of you, some of that escapism may come through the form of sleeping or using, some type of substance, drugs or alcohol. Some of you, you're going over a situation and maybe you're presented with many different options, and you're having to really look closely to determine the value of each one to see which is the best for you and what is most valid. For some of you, this is a focus on, some kind of luxury goods. Perhaps, you're buying something. Many of you may be creative, and if that's the case, this could be a very inspiring week where you're focused on your vision, you're producing something, there's something that you have in your head, and you want to manifest that, whether that's a piece of work, a piece of writing, anything creative. Whatever it is, you're focused on your direction and, getting into focus, clearer focus, and you're trying to find your motivation, your drive. You're trying to create something and follow a plan. And now in the negative, again, there's a sense of aimlessness or a need for you to reorient in some way. You are about to get down to the truth of something, and you're going to realize that either you overestimated or underestimated a person or a situation, for better or for worse. And so you are having to rethink things. You're having to look more closely at your relationships. And there could be something this week that, goes astray, and that just undermines your entire agenda. You're having to make some changes because of this situation, and everything is now up in the air. Now, in the positive, you can take this week and really get organized. Look carefully at what is before you and prioritize from the most important down, the most important, the order of importance. And if you're able to do that and execute it, you will be surprised by how much progress you make. You may even end up with a little bit of free time on your hands. So this is a week about taking lemons and making lemonade, transforming losing situations into something that's winning for you. Now, for some of you, there are issues of, dissipating energy, scattering your resources, putting energy into too many places. And again, could be somebody's under the weather. And if that's the case, you may have to make an excuse. Maybe you have to tell somebody you're sorry. Or maybe somebody, you have to stand in for someone at work or pick up more responsibility at home, or all of it. Because, again, you're operating under some kind of nebulous influence. And you have to be very careful about being clear about the picture you're presenting this week. Maybe, you're making things, larger than life, and you're trying to convince everybody this vision that you've created is actually true, when the fact is nothing could be farther from the truth. So this is a week about not being in denial, confronting things, because the longer you put something off, then the less time you're going to have to focus on things that mean something to you, things that you enjoy. So this is about, not overextending yourself in too many ways where you end up being short and not able to come through on a promise or something that you were trying to accomplish. You may have simply too many irons in the fire, and those are costing you. When if you had approached a situation with more practicality, more realistically, you would have been able to get more accomplished. Now, the second week, you have this Four of Cups. So maybe there's a feeling of discontent. Maybe, because of the confusion last week, or you had so many options available to you, you actually ended up missing some kind of opportunity. And maybe you're withdrawing. Now, maybe you're under the weather, or you feel depressed, or a little bit disorganized. And so this could be a week where you're turning inward. You realize that there's an emptiness to your situation, maybe even depression. You just don't have the energy that you want. You're lacking some motivation, and you really need to sit down and stop and do some thinking before you act on a situation. So you could be spending more time alone in order to come up with some answers. Now, for some of you, this may have to do with some memories that you have, maybe something tied to your past, maybe to your bloodline. And for some of you, maybe last week you were getting some kind of psychic impressions. There were some messages coming through for you, perhaps even through someone who had crossed over. But this could be a feeling of, something passing by, something moving onward. And so there's a feeling of apathy, and the need to withdraw because of some type of dissatisfaction. Some of you could be deciding that you're going to change some habits that you have. You're withdrawing. You don't want to drink, perhaps, or maybe you're dissatisfied with the effect of a medication that you're taking, or you don't want to participate in certain activities any longer. So for you, this could be a week where you just feel a sense of exhaustion. You're not enjoying life the way that you should, and maybe you even feel an inner sense of foreboding that's making you uncomfortable. Whatever it is, this is going to be a week where you may just have to step out there, and believe in either yourself, a situation, or circumstance, or all of it, because something this week is going to be an agent of change for you in some way, where you feel a sense of anxiety, or in the positive, you simply feel satisfied with where you are, and there's not a need for anything being offered. So depending on where you are and what your sense of well-being is going to determine this week's outcome, because this is going to be a week where your material concerns and how emotionally you are is all tied together. And there could be many things being offered to you, and you're having to sit down and contemplate, what is the best course of action for me? And, for some of you, some things are being offered, and maybe you're not pleased with what's on offer. Maybe it was presented to you in good faith, and yet when you consider it, you can see the long-range benefit as well as what the shortcomings are, and you're able to diffuse a potential problem or a situation that perhaps whoever is presenting this opportunity is not aware of, or they're not considering. But this ability for you to see the long range is going to give you that edge so that you can make decisions that are best for you. Now, in the negative, if you're not sure of something, if you're not thinking clearly and your judgment is off, then you're not going to be feeling very good about where you are. And there's a sense of anxiety because you don't know how things are going to play out. You're not really sure about the present, and even more so about what's going to happen tomorrow. And it's making you stop and think about whether what you've done, what you've said, what you've participated in was the best thing for you, or did it in some way work against you? For some of you, you're not accepting any offers, advice, or suggestions because you are withdrawing to focus on something. Perhaps you're a diligent student, or you're trying to manifest some vision, a plan, a dream, a goal. And so you're having to withdraw in order to do that. And so it's impossible for you to relax or, again, follow any advice until you tackle this situation and solve this dilemma. For some of you, again, if you're having a reaction to some type of medication, you may find that it's very difficult for you to relax. Maybe it keeps you on edge, or maybe it makes you want to sleep. But for others of you, there's something that you're not accepting. You're not accepting that a situation has changed, or that it's no longer what it was, and you're in denial. You're taking too many things for granted. You're closing yourself off to the truth of a situation, and you are refusing, again, to accept that something has changed. Now, in the positive, if you are feeling a sense of well-being, again, you're going over something, you've got a lot of options presenting, you've got some important plans and dreams that you want to pursue, you may feel very good about where you are. Your job is going well, you've got money in the bank, your relationships feel good to you. So for you, this is going to be a week where you are facing multiple options, lots of pleasant possibilities that are going to give you the chance to improve your situation, either financially or emotionally. So, it all depends on where your mind is. Either you're receptive to opportunity, in which case you have to be very astute this week. There could be things presented to you, and you have to pay attention in order to jump on this opportunity. In other cases, there's a dissatisfaction because there's some type of confusion or unsettling circumstance. There's some uncertainty in your situation. Now, the third week, you have this strong tie to the past. So this could be people from your past. It could be childhood friends. Some of you, you're dealing with children. Others of you, former lovers. Just anybody connected to your past. In the negative, this is somebody, maybe there's an experience of dissatisfaction because somebody is just raining on the parade. They're the stick in the mud. It's Debbie Downer. Everything is negative. Or somebody's just caught up in living in the past and they can't move forward. In the positive, this is going to be a week of goodwill where you renew some old ties, maybe you rekindle some old love. You focus on your happy memories with other people, and you look at the blessings that you've been given, and you feel good about, how far you've progressed. Maybe you've been through a lot, and you're taking stock of the progress that you've made. You're going to have situations where you connect to other people. It could be that, again, you're dealing with family or family values, or you're dealing with your children, or they're just situations that give you the opportunity for mutual reciprocation. And you feel perhaps some kind of opportunity to share your feelings and receive that in kind. In some cases, there may have been some confusion about something that you were accused of, and this is the week where you're cleared of that, or you're seen for the truth of something. Any good deeds that you've done in the past may show up for you right now. And more importantly, some doorways that you thought were closed are going to spring open for you this week. There are going to be some opportunities. Again, if you're paying attention, some things that you thought were closed off to you are now available. This is also going to be a week where you feel as if it's going to have a very Groundhog Day sort of feeling to it, because you're going to have some deja vu experiences, and your intuition is going to be very on point. So you may call a situation and it exactly plays out the way you thought it would, or you have a feeling, and again, that Seven of Cups could be some psychic impressions, and indeed those are correct. So this is a week for you to pay attention to any dreams that you have, especially with that Four of Swords sitting next to this card. You may be receiving messages when you're asleep, and they may guide you as far as what direction to take. So for some of you, you're making connections and you're taking some stock. You're weighing your options. You're thinking about things. You're going over the past, your progress. You may be connecting with others in order to make some decisions. Or you, again, if you're dealing with health or depression or lack of motivation or energy, this may be a week where you decide you need to take a time out. Whatever it is, you're going to hear from someone from your past. You're going to either hear about them or from them. And in the positive, opportunities are beginning to open for you. But in the negative, you're having to deal with somebody that you were hoping to avoid. And maybe you even have to contact them and you didn't want to do that. So for some of you, this is about living in the past, not accepting something, and being unwilling to adapt to your present circumstances. You're having to deal with the repercussions of something, perhaps an old love affair or a situation from the past, or you had some expectations that are being postponed or delayed, or you're simply having to deal with some beliefs and values that no longer work. They're outmoded. Others of you are worrying about your children. In many cases, something has been done, some past error in judgment, an indiscretion, an oversight, perhaps even not attending to a medical issue, and those things are now resurfacing to your disadvantage. So, again, a strong tie to the past this week. Now, in the last week, you're still doing a lot of thinking. There's not a lot of movement, not a lot of activity. Maybe you're still in a withdrawal mode. Now, if you were suffering in some way emotionally or physically, you may be recuperating from some type of illness this week. Maybe you're visiting a hospital, or maybe you are the patient. Maybe you're working in a hospital, and maybe you're dealing with people who have some type of emotional issue. But this is a week that calls for rest, for contemplation, and for some quiet preparation. So you may be going back over your situation, and things may feel very slow. Now, if you needed this break, this is a welcome relief from some stress that you've been dealing with. And so there's very little, again, communication or activity. And you could be very focused on your dreams. And again, another week to really pay attention to what your dreams, what messages they're bringing to you, because you're getting some guidance and there's a focus on your aspirations. But for others of you, you are having to take a time out because you're coming to terms with that you've been a little bit unrealistic about some situation. And again, you over or underestimated something. Now, in the negative, you're feeling isolated, you're feeling lonely. There's some kind of, maybe you've even been ostracized and you don't quite understand why you're not part of the group. Maybe you're refusing to make a decision, or maybe you can't even make that decision. So you're having to decide what your next move should be. For some of you, you're confused about a situation. Maybe there was a layoff. There's some kind of setback that you're grappling with and trying to resolve inside. But in the positive, just because this is a slow period, for some of you, if you're at peace, if the Four of Cups was simply you feel a sense of well-being, that you have everything you need, this could be a welcome break where you're just relaxing. You feel a sense of serenity. And even though there's a lull in the action, you don't feel threatened by that. You're not thinking up scenarios and worst case scenarios and everything going wrong. You're simply riding it out because you know that, things work in cycles and this is not the moment and your moment is coming. You've probably ended some process recently, and so it's necessary for this break in a situation. So if you're happy where you are and you're not jumping to conclusions, you're able to ride out this situation with ease. But for others of you, you're feeling some anxiety because there are just too many things that are unresolved. And part of the issue is, again, you lack direction, orientation, and you may be, resorting to just trying to wish a problem away, or still thinking that you can save something or resurrect something that is indeed dead. So you could be, again, not taking that cup because you're denying those facts. And as a result, it's doing you more harm than anything else. So, you're going to have to realize that if at the beginning of the month it seemed that you had a lot of options, once you really started looking at it by the end of this month, your options may be rather limited. And in some cases, there's some confusion going on, and probably with somebody tied to your past, or somebody very familiar to you. And there's a sense of dissatisfaction because something occurred that didn't sit well with you. And because of it, you're going to want to clear the air. You're going to want them to step up to the plate and tell you why they did what they did and tell you that they're sorry for it. But if you were the person that created, the issue, you're not going to want to, deal with the situation. You're going to want to quietly, put that away and file it away, never to be looked at. So this is a week for you to relax if you're in a good place, if you have everything taken care of, if you've dealt with things. Then this is a welcome break for you to regroup, for you to recharge your batteries and renew yourself. But for others of you, this is simply saying that the longer you keep putting something off, not confronting it, not dealing with it in a timely manner, it's only going to complicate your situation and jeopardize some other things that are important to you. Now, the underlying energy is this World card. So there may be a strong focus this month on healing, dealing with your emotional and physical well-being. Whatever it is, you have ended a process, you're closing out a chapter, something is reaching its natural conclusion. Now, everything has a shelf life. Perhaps, this is by choice. Maybe you had a goal that you were trying to achieve and you've reached it, and you feel a sense of wholeness because you completed something and there was a job well done, and hopefully you won the prize. But the focus this month is creating the best possible outcome, the best environmental conditions. And something, again, is closing out. You're coming full circle. So some of you, you're changing your job, you're changing where you live. Others of you, you're wrapping up your studies. There is a culmination to something. And the focus may have been in expanding your horizons in some way. Now, for some of you, that's going to mean travel or dealing with people at a distance. It could be dealing with foreigners, or it could be even dealing with people who are very culturally different, ethnically different, socially different, somebody who may be financially different from you, or somebody who simply challenges, your worldview and the way you think about things. This is going to be a month that requires some patience on your part. Now, for some of you, again, if you've been scattering your energy and not using it properly, and now you kind of lost a sense of direction and you don't know what to do, and part of your strategy is just letting it take care of itself or not dealing with something in a timely manner, then this is going to be a month where you experience some sense of stagnation. It could be some delayed success, or you're not able to close things out the way you want to because of some kind of challenge or obstacle, and you feel a sense of frustration about it. Again, there are all of these loose ends for you to deal with and unfinished business. For some of you, though, you're not moving forward because there's a fear of change. You're stuck in a rut. Maybe you're afraid of what the future holds and you have some resistance. Maybe you're not applying yourself the way you want, and you're getting an unsatisfactory outcome, and it's making you feel insecure about where you are and whether you've been making the right choices. Now, for some of you, again, this ties to travel or, trying to finish something that you've started. And it could be that you just have a little bit farther to go. So again, you need to have patience. You're almost there, because this is a month where you were building foundations. And whatever it is that you have envisioned for yourself, whatever dreams you have, these are something that are worth waiting for and putting time into. So you may have to deal with, being impulsive and some muddled thinking, acting before you actually consider everything. But this month is going to give you the opportunity to make a new start in some way, because again, you're trying to close something out. So something may come around again, an opportunity that you thought was closed, someone from your past. You're coming back full circle for a second chance. And so if you're feeling good, if you're feeling motivated, if you're clear about your vision, then you're going to be able to release bad habits, emotional dependencies, and you're going to be able to move forward. And this is a great time for just that, for starting anything new, from changing your job, starting a study, taking better care of your health, changing your attitude and the way you look at life, being involved with people who can offer something to you to help you emotionally, intellectually, financially, whatever it is that you're looking for. And in some cases, releasing some things and realizing that it has reached its natural conclusion and that it's over, and that's what's best. And that process always requires some evaluation. When you close something out and you want to begin something new, it's always good to do some type of reassessment. And so for you, you may be looking at the key players, and you may have been dealing with situations that weren't always fulfilling, or they were challenging or unsettling in some way. And yet you can appreciate that they brought something to the table and they helped you grow. So this could be a good month for forgiveness and also easing back on yourself. Wherever you've fallen short, or when you didn't make the right choice or you didn't do the right thing, on some level it was the right thing, because if you were smart, you got the lesson from it. And so this is also a month about forgiving yourself for situations. And because you're ready for this new start, it's going to be very easy for some of you to, if you've made a decision to make some changes, whatever those are, if you decided, I don't want to smoke anymore, I don't want to do drugs, I don't want to drink, I want to take better care of my health, I don't want to participate in these detrimental habits, this is a month where you find that strength, energy, and resolve to make it happen. And because of that, you feel good about yourself, where you're headed, what you're doing. And that feel-good energy spills over into your relationships. And difficult and challenging people can't help themselves but start to see things your way. So your positive energy creates a positive environment for opportunities to come out of nowhere. And if you are dealing with a medical or a legal or a financial or an emotional or a psychological issue, you're able to make leaps and bounds right now. But for those of you who are unwilling to face change, you're resistant to something that may be over with or no longer has potential, then you may be under pressure to change your ways. You may want to move in a better direction, but still you're falling back on your old go-to strategies. And you may not be starting things for the right reason, especially if you're not thinking clearly. So if you don't really know what you're doing and your heart is not fully in it, then regardless of what that vision is, it's not going to unfold the way you want it to, in spite of what kind of effort you may be putting behind that. This is also a month for you to know what your limitations are. While being enthusiastic and having grandiose dreams, we are human and we have limitations, and we have to know our strengths as well as our weaknesses. So for you, the temptation to maybe spend too much or push too hard or step on some toes or push some emotional boundaries needs to be curtailed, because you may decide that you want something, and how you go about it, whether it's some kind of scheme or something sort of cunning or maybe slightly deceptive, or you're bending the rules a little bit, you can start to make people uncomfortable with you and your approach. And of course, that's not helpful for your success. So again, this is a month about being enthusiastic and having realistic goals to move forward. Now, this is all going to center around, your mindset and your moods, how well you're able to maintain your rational thinking in spite of or because of what may be coming at you, what may be happening around you. This is about digesting, absorbing, and responding to your environmental conditions. And your decisions are going to be motivated by how well you feel, how secure you are, how stable your situation is. Do you have a sense of belonging with the group? You only have one major card, and that is the World card. So that card holds special importance for you. But something about your situation is not on solid ground. There's a lack of stability. Now, it could be because for now, this is just a vision. You are not really sure how you're going to make it into something solid. So it could just be that either, again, you have something unrealistic on your plate, or because the situation is not over yet. You're in process. You are working on something and it's slowly unfolding for you. But there's also a lack of desire, a lack of motivation. Now, maybe that could be due to you're tired. You worked on something and you need this break, or you're overwhelmed. Or again, some of you may be dealing with some kind of addiction issue or some type of medical situation. And so there's a lack of desire or motivation, or you're apathetic. It could be you're just confused about which direction to go in. This is also going to connect to sharing. Now, in some ways, healing, but also sharing with others, having a sense of shared well-being, and, extending your generosity to others and receiving that as well, and also being very discerning about what information you take to heart. What information can you take at face value, and what do you really need to look at to make sure it's even truth at all. And this is also going to center around some type of promise that was made, either by you or someone else, or it could be, some type of invitation that you are receiving that you'll have to consider. Whatever it is, there is a tremendous amount of water in this reading, which says that somebody may be drowning in their emotions. It could also speak to some very powerful deep healing or some psychic abilities. And remember, your dreams are going to be very important this month. Your intuition is high. And so you may have a very deep sense of knowing about a situation. On the flip side, though, there can be some infatuation, some obsession with the past that results in some type of apathy or depression. Now, that Four of Swords, if you take the time out to regroup, the air energy can allow you the opportunity to, take hold of your senses and cut through the fog of a situation. All right, Scorpio, I hope you enjoyed this reading. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything. And of course, you can always book a personal reading at thealchemistastrologer.com.